Scratch. I'm Arvind and I'm a senior at Oxford. And today we're basically just going to go over what Scratch is, some features and components of it, and a tutorial on how to create a Pong game. Very end. Yeah, so I already introduced myself, but I'm Arvind. I'm a senior at Oxford. And in the future, I want to probably do business and CS at a reputable tech. And our other two members, unfortunately, were not able to make it to the workshop today. But this is something about Jonathan. He's a junior at Oxford and he wants to become a software engineer and have a music producing side hustle. And Sianet is also a junior at Oxford and he wants to make his own Iron Man suit. So what is Scratch? So Scratch is basically a platform for discovering and treating projects created from students around the world. And it's really cool because you're able to see other people's projects when they share it. And then you just see like this portfolio of everyone's projects from around the world and you can play around with it. And you can even like make a copy of it and modify it for your own use as well. And it's a workspace where you can create your own personal creations. And I'll go over more of the specifics in each workspace and talk about all the different components of it. And yeah, this is just like a really big online community where you can ask people for help, view other projects, integrate it into your own projects, and it's really collaborative as well. So now I'll be going a little deeper into each component of Scratch itself and how the interface works. So this is a part you'll see on the main page when you create a new project. So on this left-hand side, you can see like a sidebar of each category of blocks. And this whole platform is like block coding platform. So here we have different categories like motion, looks, sound, events, etc. So motion, as it says in the word, is moving objects. Looks is how different objects, or in Scratch it's called sprites, work. And sound is playing sound, etc. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll go over more specific controls once we're actually in the tutorial. And this is the list of all the blocks under each category. So yeah, as you can see, like there's a lot of different options on what you want to do. So this is the actual workspace area you'll see to the right of all the blocks. And this is where you could drag all your blocks and create code here and add logic and add how sprites can move, interact, everything like that. So this will be to the right of your workspace. And this is like the preview window of how your final application will work. And there'll be play pause buttons at the top, which will run your program and stop it. And this area is where your actual program will be. And also Ria or Angie, if you guys want to take pictures during this presentation, it's kind of hard for me to.
Yeah, no worries. I'll take some pictures.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we'll be going into the live Pong tutorial. And this is basically the final result of how it'll work. You'll be able to move this paddle left and right and basically hit the ball back and forth from the top. I'll stop this screen share. You guys should be able to see my new window. Also, feel free to ask any questions by unmuting yourself or in the chat box. I'll be checking the chat quite frequently during this stage, but if I don't see it, you guys can unmute as well. So this is what you should see when you create a new project. So how you get here from the main page is you click your profile, go to My Stuff, and then click New Project. And then you're able to get to where I'm at right now in this workspace. So I'll wait till everyone has done so. And when you're done, you can just type done in the chat box.
What exactly are we supposed to say done for?
Just finish creating your account and have a new project set up in this workspace.
Okay.
All right, I'm just gonna give it like a minute or two to see if anyone else.
I have one question about Scratch for the hackathon. So I was wondering, like, could you base off of other projects on Scratch and like create your own like project and like make it more unique so it's different from what you based it on? Could you do it like that? Or does it have to be like completely new from the start?
For the hackathon, I think we want a completely original idea, but you can definitely use other projects for inspiration when you're creating your own.
Okay.
Just to clarify, if you're not attending this workshop, we can just leave our videos muted and come back at 10:20.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no,
But
no worries.
yeah, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, but if you want to stay on the call, yeah, just come back whenever you want to attend the workshops.
Okay, not sure if anyone else is here, but I guess I'll continue moving on and you guys can ask questions along the process. Okay, so once you get to this page, you want to create basically two sprites, which are game objects. And this game is really simple, so you only need the paddle and the ball. So how you want to create these sprites is first go to the bottom right around this area. And then you'll see there's already like a cat sprite. And then we don't really need that, so just go ahead and delete it. And then this is where you can create a new sprite. And I think Scratch already has built-in sprites for what we need. So yeah, the ball already shows up on this page. So if you want, you can also type up ball to see if there's anything else you want to use, but I'll just use the default ball. And then I'll also look for a paddle. And this comes up too. So now we have our ball, the paddle, which is basically all we need for this game. So again, once you're at this point, please type in done in the chat box again. So I'll be doing this for like every few steps or so, just to make sure we're all on the same pace. All right, I'll move on in just a couple seconds. And if you haven't typed in done, that's fine. You can just ask a question. Okay, so I'll be moving on. And now we'll actually go into the coding part, which will make our game work, which basically is the ball moving around back and forth, hitting the paddle and giving the user a point every time. So you can actually put code under each sprite itself. There's not like one code box for both. So you can see like this little icon here will tell you what sprite you're actually coding for. So first we'll just code the paddle. And the paddle is pretty simple code because it's just moving it left and right. So what you want to first do is go to events and drag when the flag is clicked over. So this is basically the condition that will run when you press this, when the go is clicked. So this will basically run your code, anything under here. So once you drag this over, you want to think about what do we want to do once the user presses run with the paddle. We want the paddle to move left and right according to the user's mouse movement, right? So before we do that, we also want to set the paddle to like Y position pretty low so that user, when they move their mouse, like paddle doesn't follow up as well. So we want to keep the Y position the same and only change the X every time. So then we drag in the forever command. So if you guys already know programming, this is basically like a while true loop. It just, anything inside this forever command will just keep running over and over again. So the program is stopped basically. And then under here, this is where we want to set the Y position to a constant value, so the paddle doesn't move up and down. And then set the X position to where the mouse is. The mouse is X. That's really cool that Scratch can really track where our mouse is and get the X position. So first we will the Y. And we can set it to like, yeah, I guess 150 is fine. And then set X. To the mouse's X value. That should be in sensing. Yeah, right here. And this is pretty much it for the paddle code. So now when we press run, you can see our paddle actually moves where our mouse is. And this is how we'll control it to play the game. And even if I move my mouse up and down, you'll see that the paddle doesn't move up and down because the Y position is always set to a constant value. It'll only move left and right, which is exactly what we want. Okay. So at this point, again, type done in chat if you're caught up to this. And then we'll move on to coding the ball, which is a little bit more, but again, not too much. It's a pretty simple game. First option for setting X to mouse X. So for that, there's actually two parts. First, you need the set X command, which will be in motion. If you go to motion and scroll down, you'll see this set X. So drag that over. And then once you have the set X, you can go to sensing to get the mouse's X right here. And then you want to drag that into this input box right there. Over here. You don't have the link for the code. Oh, this is just a live tutorial. So you can just create a new project and follow along basically. Yeah, at the very end, I'll just send my project link to see if you guys want to work on it. Yeah, no worries if you join late. I'll send out my project link at the end and all the code will be there. If you want to go through it, you can ask me any questions there. Wait on a couple more people to type done and we'll move on to the ball. Yeah, it looks like we have a couple more people joining in as well, so I'll give them some time to get caught up a little bit. And when you're at this point, again, please type in done in chat to let me know. Okay, I'll go ahead and move on. So now that's pretty much all the code for the paddle. So we'll go on to the ball. And before we start, we want to think about what exactly do we want to do with this ball, right? So in Pong, it'll basically move back and forth as you probably already played before. But first, we want to send it in a random direction, either up, down, left, or right. And then every time it hits the edge as well, it has to bounce off. And every time it hits the paddle, it will also bounce off. But we'll add 1 point to the player's score. Pretty simple logic. So again, first, we're going to start off with when the flag is clicked. So we'll pretty much always need this because everything under this will only execute if we have the statement when the user presses the flag. So when this is clicked, first we want to take care of our score variable. So we actually have to make this first. Let's make a variable on the side. And you can do it for all sprites, but it doesn't matter. All score. And you'll see that there's actually a score component on this left-hand side. We don't need to move it. We can probably keep it there. And every time the user presses play, you want to set the score to 0. So they start from the beginning every time. And after we set the score, we want to take care of the ball movement. So first, we want it to move in any direction. So the movement of the ball is not actually pre-programmed. Like it won't move in the same direction every time you click run. So to do this, we have to randomize the direction it goes in every time. So first we have to pick a direction, which is Clinton direction. And we can't just have a number here because that'll be the same thing over and over again. It'll get pretty boring. So we'll randomize it. So here we have a random function, pick random from beginning number to the end number. This is the interval which we'll pick from. And in terms of direction, you want to think about this like a circle, I guess. And it's basically in degrees. So there's 360 degrees, and you just want to pick one of them. So we'll go from 0, 360. So this will basically pick a random direction and then point the ball on that. But it still doesn't actually move. So this is where we'll take care of the movement. So under control, you want to drag a forever block again. So anything under here will keep running for the duration of the program until the user presses stop or they close out. Under here is actually where we want to take care of the movement of the ball. So once they press this, it will point in the direction. Oh, okay. The random should be in the point direction, not the square. Okay. So in the forever, we'll take this move block. Well, we're already in the direction, so we're just going to move 10 steps. And we're also going to add if on edge bounce this block. So you can already probably tell this basically means if the ball touches the edge, then it's going to bounce off again. So that's half of our code. We'll make the ball bounce around. And let's see what we have so far. You can see first it's going up, down. Stop it, run it again. It's going this way. Stop it again. You can see how it randomizes every time we start. See a chat message. How would the move 10 steps make a bounce? So move 10 steps doesn't actually make a bounce. It just allows it to travel across this this like area. But this command right here, if on edge bounce, that's what actually allows it to detect that it touched the edge of this area, this workspace, and that's the code that'll basically check it's touching the wall and it'll bounce back. Yeah. Okay. And if you guys want to play around with it, you can basically change this to how fast you want to control the ball. Like if you put it to 5, then it'll go slower. And then if you want to like make it really hard, then you can set it to like 20. That'll make it go like twice as fast as the initial one. Yeah. Play around with that, see which one you want to do. But I think I'll just keep it 10 for now. Okay, so we'll do another stopping point here, and please type in done in chat if you're caught up to this point. Yeah, I'll go back to the paddle code right now. Okay, yeah, no worries. Back to the ball and wait for 4 more people, like 2 more seconds, and then we'll move on. Okay, I think it's all right to move on now, but again, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself or type in the chat box. Okay, so for our next part, we want to drag another one of these when the flag is clicked again, just to separate it and keep this next part cleaner and not mixed with the rest. So for this, we want to basically code the logic behind the ball touching the paddle and it giving us a point and bouncing back. So right now you can see that like the ball doesn't really regard the paddle, it just goes right through it. So we're going to fix that now. So first, we want to drag another one of these forever blocks. So this will run throughout the duration of the program. And then we'll code some logic using this if statement. So what this will do is it'll check any condition in this like little gap you put here. And if that's true, then it will execute all the code under it, inside it. So this is different from everything else we've done because everything else will basically run no matter what, but any code in here will only run if the condition is true that it's set. So that's pretty good for making something run only if something is true or like if you're checking for a condition. So what's the condition we want to check here? So when it's running and we want the ball to bounce off the paddle, what do you check for? You can answer in the chat. What do we need to check to make the ball bounce off? And you can already see like a simplified version of this in this statement. So this was already pre-coded for us, but this is checking if on edge, then bounce. So when the ball moves and if it touches the edge, then it'll bounce. So what do we check for to make the ball bounce from the paddle? The ball touches the paddle, then bounce. Edward says, yeah, that's correct. So we're gonna make some code to check if the ball is touching the paddle. And if it is, it'll bounce right back. So you can find this code under the sensing and you can drag this over, touching. So if it's touching not the mouse pointer, but the paddle, then what do we want it to do? We basically want it to bounce the opposite direction, turn back. So we can do this through turning. So if we want it to bounce the exact opposite direction, then we'll turn 180 degrees first. And then we can move steps again. So let's test this out. And there we go. You can see that it's bouncing off quite well. All right, so pretty much almost done, but there's still one thing that's missing, which is the score. So this is already easy for us because we already checked when it's touching the paddle. So we just need to add one more component that changes the score every time the paddle is touched. So just drag over this change variable and then put it to score. And then now, when you just run the whole program again, every time you touch it, the score increments by 1. And there you go. That's Pong in Scratch. And again, if you want to do a little interesting for yourself, change speed. Yeah. All right, any questions? Is everyone done where I am or need more time?
The score doesn't show up for me.
The score doesn't show up. Did you create a new variable called score already? Like you don't see it on here?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, then you want to go to variables over here, then click make a variable. And then here you can type in score for all sprites, and then click OK. And then it should show up on the top left.
It It says score already exists.
I think you also like once you make it, you can see under the make a variable, it says like my variable and score. Click the checkbox next to score, and I think it should show up.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, if you uncheck it, it'll disappear. Make sure the checkbox.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, cool. At this point, I will send my project so you guys can take a look. You can just look at the code on your own time to see how everything works and play around with it as well. Okay, pretty much almost done, but I think we still have a couple slides on the presentation. We just switch to that really quickly. All right, again, this is the final result you should see. So you just on the tutorial. So I have another little bonus section if you have time during the last minutes of our workshop or after we're done even. And it's to add another paddle on top and add like a different sort of control. So the bottom pedal, you saw it was controlled using our mouse pointer. So try to add another pedal on top and use like the arrow keys or WASD and try to make it a two-player game so you can play with someone else on your device as well. And you can go back and forth. And if you try to do this, you'll probably need to add another variable to track the scores for both players. Okay, and now take a group photo. I'll stop sharing.
Arvin, do you want me to go ahead and take?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second. So, if everyone would like to center themselves, we'll take our photo in 3, 2, 1. Great. So thank you, Arvin, for that presentation. I know Sam joined midway. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself now that you're here?
Sorry, yeah, I was supposed to be here, but I had something else to do. But yeah, I'm a junior at Oxford, and yeah, I also do computer science as well.
Okay, cool. So at this point, we have, let me check. We have until 10:20 until our next workshop. If you guys don't have any other questions, I would suggest going down, getting a snack, taking a break for the next 10 minutes, and then please be sure to be back for Anna and Angelina's Intro to Java workshop at 10:20.